What's up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the numbers. These are my full card breakdown and predictions for UFC Vegas 34. We have Jared Cannonier going against Kelvin Gastelum, and I'm looking forward to this card for many reasons. Not the most name value on it, but I do think a lot of these fights are going to deliver, and for another reason is we finally have a card. It feels like forever since I've done one of these videos. 1 week off just feels like too much. So although the fights aren't the greatest, I'm very excited to have fights back. Hopefully you guys are as well, and hopefully you guys are ready to make some money, hopefully. So before we get into it, I do have some announcements to make. Do want to shout out the winners from the contest from a couple weeks ago. Shout out to Scott. He guessed 114 significant strikes, got it right on the dot. Shout out to Scott there. There were some guys that were very close, but Scott, yeah, got it right on the dot. Very impressive there. And then also Don on DK got it done, first place there. I was like third place on DK. I was so close. I think I needed like Bobby Green over Derek Lewis, but shout out to Don for winning the DK contest. I was able to contact both of them and get them their winnings. So shout out to both of them. I'll be doing more contests in the future. I will be going live Friday, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, also Saturday, 1 hour prior to when the prelims start. So make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss out on all the content throughout the week. And also leave a like. One small like really does go away. Really do appreciate all the likes and all the support week in and week out. So enough of that. I say we get into it, and we shall start with the first fight of the night. And we have Ramiz Brahimaj going against Sasha Plotnikov. We have Brahimaj, who is 20 years old, 5'10", 73-inch reach, 8-3, and 2-3 in his last 5 fights. Sasha Plotnikov, he is 32 years old, 6'1", 72.5-inch reach, 6-3, and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. So we'll take a look at the odds here. And we do have Brahimaj opening up as a -110 pick'em, currently -132. And we have Plotnikov opening up as a -110 pick'em, currently +112. So some money is coming in on Brahimaj, and man, I'm very disappointed in this guy. I mean, you watch tape on this guy, Brahimaj, outside of the UFC, and he is so impressive. His wrestling's great. His grappling is phenomenal. He has finished 100% of his wins by submission. All of his wins, all 8 of them, are by submission. He comes into the UFC against Max Griffin. I don't think I bet him, but I remember having a ton of him on DraftKings because this guy's a beast grappler, and he attempts 0 takedowns. 0 takedowns in a fight. He just gets outpointed by Max Griffin, ultimately loses his ear in the 3rd round, and I was just sitting there with my jaw dropped. Like I'm looking at this guy like he's such a great grappler, such a great wrestler, and he goes in there in his UFC debut and shoots for 0 takedowns, which just really shocked me. And if he does that in this fight, he's going to absolutely lose. I don't think he's the best striker. He's kind of wild. He does hit pretty hard, but he has 0 knockouts on his record. If he wants to win this fight, he's going to have to get it down to the mat. So I don't know. I mean, you got to think he does, right? I mean, he's a great grappler. If you go back and watch any of his fights, like you can see, he picks guys up, he slams them. He's very, very slick grappling. Plotnikov, he can be taken down. I've watched multiple of his fights. He's been taken down the majority of them. He just got submitted in his last fight against Gane. I'll go Brahimaj here, but can you really trust him to go out there and implement the game plan of, going for takedowns, using that ground game? Because it was just so weird in that Max Griffin fight, going for 0 takedowns. That still has me really scratching my head. So if he goes for takedowns here, I think he's going to look like a pretty big favorite, to be honest. I think this guy's a legit grappler, but the UFC debut just really gives me some pause in terms of, having a lot of confidence in this guy, because again, if he comes in here and does the same thing, shoots for no takedowns, I think it'll be competitive, but you probably got to do favor Plotnikov there. But I'll say he bounces back. I'll say he does go for takedowns. I think even on the feet he can have some success. I don't think Plotnikov has the best chin. Plotnikov has actually been finished in all of his losses as well. 2 by knockout, 1 by submission, and I think there's a very good chance that Brahimaj either gets like a club and sub victory, or if he gets it down to the mat, I think he can sub him for sure. So I'll take Brahimaj, but man, if I knew for sure that he'd be going for takedowns, I'd be betting him here, but the UFC debut does give me some pause. But I'll take Brahimaj to win. I think he's a very good fighter. I just hope he comes out here with a good game plan, unlike he did in his last fight. I'll take Brahimaj to win by 1st round submission. All right, next we have Roosevelt Roberts going against Ignacio Baja Mendez. We have Roberts, who is 27 years old, 6'2", 73-inch reach, 10-2, and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Ignacio Baja Mendez, 23 years old, 6'3", 75.5-inch reach, 11-4, and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. We have Roosevelt Roberts opened up as a +140 dog. He's now -147. We have Ignacio Mendez opening up as a -160 favorite, currently +127. And yeah, you know, Roosevelt Roberts has been dropping the ball as of late, to say the least. Losses to Jim Miller in the first round by sub, remember that armbar, and then after that, he was a huge favorite against Kevin Kroom. Kroom comes in, he hurts Roberts, and he submits him shortly after, and he was, I think it was like -400, -500, something crazy like that, and, you know, losing to Kroom is definitely not a good look, but you know, you do take a look back at his career. He's had some good wins. Thomas Gifford, Daryl Horcher, Alexander Yakovlev, Brock Weaver. Some decent wins there. As far as Baja Mendez, somebody that dropped the ball as well. He came in against John McDessie, making his UFC debut. I was kind of high on Baja Mendez. I thought it was a great matchup for him. One being John McDessie. He has 0 takedowns in his career. So I thought, hey, he's going to strike with John McDessie for 15 minutes. McDessie's going to give him the fight that he wants. And that's exactly what happened. But John McDessie outlanded him 124 to 112. And in that fight, Baja Mendez had like a 7-inch height advantage, had like a 7-inch reach advantage. And I thought it was like a tailor-made matchup for Baja Mendez. I didn't bet him or anything, but I was kind of confident in that pick. But no, John McDessie went out there and outlanded it, which is, you know, very shocking. But it did show that, you know, 1, he has a lot of heart. 2, he has a lot of toughness. But 3, he's very hittable. Man, I kind of like Roberts here. If you take a look at it, he's a very good grappler. I believe he's a brown belt in BJJ. And you take a look at, you know, Baja Mendez, not many people have tried to take him down as of late. Of course, John McDessie did not attempt a takedown, I don't believe. Prior to that, in like his last couple fights, I saw one guy take him down. But, you know, prior to that, like years ago, he has been submitted twice. But I really do have question marks about this guy's ground game, about his grappling. And, you know, Roberts, I'm very impressed with his grappling. And you kind of, you're probably like, what are you talking about? This guy's been submitted 2 times in a row. But no, he's a very good grappler. Very good wrestling as well. Does average 1.75 takedowns per 15 minutes with a really good 53% takedown accuracy. Was able to get Brock Weaver down. Was able to get Vince Pichel down 2 times. Was able to get Thomas Gifford down twice. Was able to get down Garrett Gross on the Contender Series as well 3 times. And his grappling's very slick. I think on the mat, he's going to have an absolute significant advantage. And I think on the feet, I probably do favor Baja Mendez on the feet, but not by much. Roberts is going to have success. He hits pretty hard, and Baja Mendez is very hittable. I think it's a really decent spot for Roberts here. I think if it just touches the mat once, I think we're going to see a clear advantage for Roosevelt Roberts. I think he's the much better grappler. And it's kind of weird. You take a look at Roberts, and how does he lose? I mean, he gets submitted by Kevin Kroom. He gets submitted by Jim Miller. He loses a decision to Vince Pichel in a fight where Pichel is able to take him down 3 times, grind him out. And even an amateur, his only loss in amateur was a submission loss as well. So when Roosevelt Roberts is losing, it's him basically being out-grappled. And you take a look at Baja Mendez, it's just not something he does. Baja Mendez 0 submissions on his record, and he just doesn't really have the grappling chops to really have success. I'd be shocked if he did. I think Roberts is the much better grappler, and I think if he fights smart, gets his fight down to the mat, I think he gets a sub here. So I'm actually going to take Roosevelt Roberts. I'm going to take him to win by, I'll say, 2nd round submission. I just think there's going to be a huge difference, huge levels difference on the mat. I think on the feet, probably do favor Baja Mendez, but not by much. But I do think Roosevelt Roberts going to get it down to the mat and get a submission and give Baja Mendez his 3rd submission loss of his career. Oh boy, we have William Knight going against Fabio Charon, a fight that I'm not really looking forward to. William Knight is going to be the biggest favorite on the card, actually, which is crazy. But, you know, he is 33 years old, 5'10", with a 73-inch reach, 9-2, and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Fabio Charon, 26 years old, 6'1", 76-inch reach, 7-2, and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. I mean, 2 guys that I'm typically looking to fade. I'm not really high on either guy. But we do see William Knight as, I believe, the biggest favorite in the card, opening up -325 and currently -190. Insane. And then Fabio Charon opening up +275 and currently +165. So some money's coming in on Charon. I mean, rightfully so. I'm not high on the guy really at all. But I'm not high on William Knight either, so it makes it kind of a tough fight to call there. But yeah, Charon did make his UFC debut against Alonzo Menefield, gets submitted in that first round, taken down pretty easily. He did fight on the Contender Series a couple years back against Alexa Kamor, and just not impressed. He barely threw anything. He landed 7 significant strikes in about 5 minutes and 48 seconds of fight time. Kamor lands a knee, hurts him, knocks him out. Alexa Kamor, who I'm not very high on himself, outlands Fabio Charon 44-7 up until getting that finish. And another thing that kind of concerned me is Fabio Charon shot for 0 takedowns. So basically, he was getting outlanded for about 5.5 minutes up until Kamor did knock him out. And that's kind of what I don't like about Charon. I mean, he's not the best striker in the world, not much volume, doesn't go for takedowns much. He's a good grappler, no knockouts on his record. The majority of his wins are by submission, but he doesn't go for takedowns as really much as you'd like to see. So I'll take William Knight to win. Not overly confident in it, but I do think he's the better striker. That's where the fight probably does play out. If he does want to go for takedowns, I absolutely think he can get them, but he needs to stay safe on top, not get submitted. Charon is, solid grappler, but yeah, I'll take Knight, but really not much confidence at all. I mean, if Charon can actually get Knight down, which is possible, Knight has a 40% takedown defense. If Charon can get on top, he could have some success. It's just you don't really see that from Charon as much as you really like to. He doesn't go for takedowns as much as you like. So I'll take William Knight. Primarily plays out on the feet, better striker. Maybe he mixes in takedowns. I think he can absolutely get him. I don't think Charon has great takedown defense. It kind of welcomes the takedown even, but just not a fight that I'm overly confident in, especially seeing William Knight as the biggest favorite on the card is just, it's crazy. It's crazy. It's one of those cards, but I'll take William Knight. I'll take him to win. I don't even know. Maybe by decision, I guess. I'll take William Knight to win by decision. All right, here we go. We have Bayem Malecki going against Josie and Nunes. We have Bayem Malecki, who is 29 years old, 5'9", 74-inch reach, 2-0. And Josie and Nunes, who is 27 years old, 5'2", 67-inch reach, 7-1 and 5-0 in her last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the height advantage for Malecki is going to be 7 inches, and then she's going to have a 7-inch reach advantage as well. And I'll tell you, like, Bayem Malecki is very, very big for the division, and Josie and Nunes is very, very small for the division, and I can definitely see why there is some money coming in on Bayem Malecki. She opened up -130. She's currently -155, and Josie and Nunes opened up +110. She's currently +135, and I totally agree with that. I like Malecki here in this spot. She's just going to be so much bigger. Like, I honestly think that Nunes could even be smaller than 5'2". You watch some of her tapes, she is very, very, very small. I think they could be even lying about her reach at 6 to 7 inches. Like, she looks so small, and Malecki looks so big. I can't imagine what the weigh-ins are going to look like. Nunes was supposed to make her UFC debut against Zarah Fairn. Actually had a underdog shot on Zarah Fairn. Wish I was getting the same underdog shot on Bayem Malecki, but I actually think Bayem Malecki is the much better fighter compared to Zarah Fairn. I think Malecki does use that size, use that length. She has fought the better competition, Josie and Nunes, just a bunch of soccer moms on the regional scene that she's knocking these fighters out. It's just probably should not, or they're just not UFC caliber, to say the least there. So can't look into that too much, but I will say that Josie and Nunes has a pretty terrible takedown defense, a pretty terrible get-up game. I saw her stuck on her back for multiple minutes at a time. If Bayem Malecki can get on top, I think she's going to have a ton of success. Malecki actually has a solid ground game. It looks like she has a submission on her record. She looks pretty heavy on top, so that could be a path to victory there. But I just think the reach and the size in general is going to give Josie and Nunes a lot of problems. But yeah, I think the line's going to keep moving. I think she's going to keep becoming a bigger and bigger favorite, especially after people see the weigh-ins. It's going to look crazy. They're going to look not even 2, like 3 weight classes apart. I mean, Malecki's huge for the division, and Nunes is very, very, very small for the division. I think the size is going to be the biggest factor in this fight, but I think Nunes, for her to win, it's going to have to be a knockout. She's going to have to clip Malecki, which it's possible it could happen, but I think Malecki's better pretty much everywhere, to be honest. So I'll take Malecki to win. I'll take her to win by, I'll say decision, but yeah, I think the size is going to be the key there for Bayem Malecki. All right, a fight I'm really looking forward to. We have Brian Kelleher going against Domingo Pilarte. We have Kelleher, who is 34 years old, 5'6", with a 64-inch reach, 22-12, and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Domingo Pilarte, he is 31 years old, 6 foot, 74-inch reach, 8-2, and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. So some really important things to point out. Brian Kelleher is 34 years old. He's going to be 3 years older, and he's also going to be at a 6-inch height disadvantage, and he's also going to have a 10-inch reach disadvantage as well, something to definitely mention there. And we will take a look at the odds here. We have Brian Kelleher opening up -140. He is currently -174. Domingo Pilarte opening up +120. He is currently +149. So some money is coming in on Kelleher, and I definitely agree here. But we will get into some stats. As far as the striking goes, I think Kelleher's the better striker. He does land 3.92 significant strikes per minute with a 39% accuracy, but he does absorb a massive 5.47 significant strikes per minute with a pretty terrible negative significant strike differential of minus 1.55. And then a 53% striking defense. Domingo Pilarte, not much better. Actually pretty, a lot worse. Lands only 2.04 significant strikes per minute, very low volume, but he does have a 50% accuracy, absorbing 3.69 significant strikes per minute with a negative 1.65 significant strike differential and a horrible 42% striking defense. Like I said, I think Kelleher is going to have the striking advantage in this fight. As far as the grappling, that's where Pilarte is a little bit better. But again, I probably still give Kelleher the advantage in the grappling as well. Kelleher does average 1 takedown per 15 minutes, 25% accuracy, and he does have a 59% takedown defense. As far as Pilarte, does average 2 takedowns per 15 minutes with a 42% accuracy, and he does have a 75% takedown defense. Both guys are finishers. Kelleher an 82% finish rate, 36 coming by knockout, 45% coming by submission. He has been knocked out once in 34 fights, very good chin on him, but he has been submitted 6 times. A lot of those were by pretty decent fighters. Marlon Vera submitted him, I believe, and also Montel Jackson as of late. The submissions before that were a while ago. So he has a brown belt in BJJ as well, I believe. So Domingo Pilarte, 75% finish rate, 25% by knockout, half his wins, 50% by submission. Never been knocked out officially and never been submitted, but we do see that he did have his last fight against Journey Newsom where he did get knocked out early in that fight a year and 6 months ago, by the way, and that did get overturned due to Newsom, I believe, popping for some of that marijuana. So regardless, we did see him get knocked out, but I think the big thing here is going to be the level of competition. You take a look at Brian Kelleher. Listen to the guys he's been losing to in his UFC career. Guys like Ricky Simone, who took him down 6 times. Guys like Cody Stamen, who took him down 2 times. Montel Jackson, John Lineker, and Marlon Vera. Those are his 5 UFC losses. Ricky Simone, Cody Stamen, Montel Jackson, John Lineker, and Marlon Vera. Obviously very good competition, whereas you have Domingo Pilarte, and he's going out there getting dominated by Vince Morales. I remember going back and watching that fight against Morales and Pilarte. Morales was 1 second away from finishing Pilarte. He hurt him bad, almost got him out of there. He got saved by the bell in that fight. So he was 1 second away by getting finished by Vince Morales. And then after that, comes into the UFC as a big favorite over Felipe Colares. And I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it. Felipe Colares beat Domingo Pilarte. Felipe Colares actually took him down 2 times. Colares was able to have 6 minutes and 38 seconds of control time. Colares outlanded him 23-11 in significant strikes. Domingo Pilarte had 11 significant strikes in a 15-minute fight. And then after that, comes in against Journey Newsom. I think it was around a pick'em and gets knocked out in 38 seconds. So you just see that there's massive gap between the level of competition between the guys they're facing. And, if you're getting taken down twice by Felipe Colares, if you're getting outlanded by Felipe Colares, I have some serious concerns for you. But yeah, regardless, I like Kelleher. I think he's the better striker. I think he's the better grappler. The one thing I am concerned about is a potential Domingo Pilarte submission, but again, you're taking a look at who Kelleher's getting submitted by. Montel Jackson, which, by the way, Montel Jackson hurt him prior to that submission, and Marlon Vera by an armbar. Those are his only 2 submission losses. So I like Kelleher here. I think he's fought the better competition. I think he's the more well-rounded fighter. The only thing I don't like is Pilarte is going to have a 10-inch reach advantage. He's going to have a 6-inch height advantage. That's the one thing I don't like, but that's kind of the only thing I don't like there. So I do like Kelleher. I'm going to take him to win by finish. It could be a knockout. It could be a submission. I'll say knockout. I'll say Kelleher does knock him out at some point, but I could see a submission as well. But yeah, I do like Kelleher actually quite a bit. I just think there's a huge difference in the level of competition, the experience, and even the skill, to be honest. So give me Brian Kelleher. I'll take him to win by, say, 3rd round knockout. All right, next we have Luis Saldana going against Austin Lingo, which should be a really good fight. We have Saldana, who is 30 years old, 5'11", 73-inch reach, 15-6, and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Austin Lingo, 27 years old, 5'10", 70-inch reach, 8-1, and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. We shall take a look at the odds, and we have Saldana opening up -130, currently -125. Austin Lingo opening up +110, currently +105 there. Yeah, very, very interesting fight here. We have Austin Lingo, who was able to bounce back off of a loss to Youssef Zalal in his last fight. Looked pretty good against Jacob Kilburn, but again, that is Jacob Kilburn. Can't really look into that all that much. But nice to see him bounce back and get a win. Almost finished Kilburn in that fight, which sucked because I had the under 2.5 in that fight, and there were so many opportunities for Lingo to finish. And, you know, he's a finisher. You take a look at a lot of his wins, and a lot of them come, like, under a minute. Like, this guy has a ton of power. You know, same thing for Saldana. Saldana was able to win his first UFC, or his first decision in his entire career. Prior to that, he's been getting knockouts. Tons of knockouts on this guy's record. I think he has a handful of them, a lot of submissions as well. He has a 93% finish rate in Saldana. Again, that last fight against Jordan Griffin, he was able to win his first decision. But if you go back and watch that fight, my goodness, I thought Jordan Griffin clearly won. I thought he clearly won. But regardless, you know, Saldana was able to get the win, which sucks. I think they cut Jordan Griffin after that, which is crazy. Because again, I thought Jordan Griffin won the fight, and I think a lot of people thought that as well. But yeah, in this fight, it's a close fight. I think Austin Lingo can definitely pose some problems. I like his pressure. I like how he comes forward. You probably do give Saldana the striking advantage, but, you know, Lingo's very dangerous. He hits very hard. I think an interesting aspect of this fight could be the takedowns. Although I went back and watched some tape on Lingo, he doesn't go for takedowns as much as I really like, enough to really, you know, maybe make a bet on him. But I do think he can mix in takedowns here or there. I think it's going to be a very close and competitive fight up until somebody gets knocked out, and I do think somebody gets knocked out. I'm actually going to take the dog shot on Lingo as far as a pick goes. I don't think I'll get there from a betting perspective. If anything, I think the under 2.5 is a solid look. Both guys have a ton of power, but I'm going to take Austin Lingo to close the distance and land that hard shot and get a knockout over Luis Saldana. But again, not much confidence. I can see the same thing. Saldana has a ton of power himself, but I will take Austin Lingo to get the knockout win. Saldana has been finished in half his losses, 2 by submission, 1 by knockout, has been knocked out before, and I will take Austin lights out Lingo to put out Saldana's lights. But yeah, this fight's going to be very good. I think it could be potential fight of the night here. I think there's both going to stand in the middle and bang until one man falls, and I'm going to pick Austin Lingo to get the knockout in that first round. All right, this is probably my favorite fight of the night. We have Alexander Pantoja going against Brandon Royval. I think this is the best fight on the card. I'm not really sure why it's not the co-main event, to be honest. But I'm really looking forward to this fight. Alexander Pantoja, he is 31 years old, 5'5", with a 68-inch reach, 23-5 and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Brandon Royval, he is 28 years old, 5'9", 70.5-inch reach, 12-5 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. So Royval is going to have a 4-inch height advantage, and he's also going to have a 2.5-inch reach advantage as well. And we'll take a look at the odds. We have Pantoja opening up -125, currently -170. Brandon Royval opening up +105, currently +145, which is kind of interesting because Brandon Royval definitely seems like a fan favorite, and rightfully so. This guy comes to fight. This guy is wild. This guy is fun. This guy is exciting. Both these guys are. But it definitely seems like Royval is becoming a fan favorite for sure. So, you know, first look, I thought it was going to be a pretty clear Pantoja pick for me, but after getting the tape, I noticed something that I didn't really like on the Pantoja side, and that's going to be the gas tank. I mean, this is somebody that slows down as the fight goes on. He gave up the third round against Manel Kopp. He obviously gave up the third round against Askar Askarov. He gave up the third round against Davison Figueiredo, and you just see him slow down as the fight goes on, and especially in a fight where Royval's going to push the pace for 15 minutes or up until there's a finish. I really don't like that because you can kind of think that Royval has a very good chance of winning that third round, and you know, early in the fight, I do think that, you know, Pantoja is going to be the better striker, but man, Royval is very unorthodox. He brings a style that you don't really see. He's very wild, and I think it could give Pantoja some problems. Royval is going to be the bigger fighter as well. And yeah, let's get into some of these stats here. Pantoja does land 4.3 significant strikes per minute with a 47% accuracy, absorbing 3.39 significant strikes per minute with a 0.91. Positive significant strike differential and a 53% striking defense as far as Royval does land 3.77 significant strikes per minute with a 46% accuracy, absorbing only 2.88 with a positive 0.89 significant strike differential and a 47% striking defense. As far as the grappling stats go, Pantoja does average 0.94 takedowns per 15 minutes with a 35% accuracy, 68% takedown defense. Brandon Royval averages about 0.79 takedowns per 15 minutes, 100% accuracy, and 53% takedown defense. Yeah, I'm curious to see the grappling in this fight. I mean, Pantoja is somebody, I think he's a BJJ black belt, very good grappler himself, but Royval's grappling is on another level. This guy's grappling is very, very dangerous. So I'm curious to see what does happen if this fight does go down to the mat, but it's a close fight. It's a close fight. Both guys are finishers. Pantoja, 70% finish rate, 35% by knockout, 35% by submission. Pantoja in 28 fights has never been finished, ever. This guy is as tough as they come. No knockout losses, no submission losses. He's fought guys like Brandon Moreno. He's fought guys like Davis and Figueiredo, and they have not been able to put him out. I'm not so sure Brandon Royval is able to. And, you know, Royval's tough in his own right. Only one knockout loss, and that was a doctor stoppage. He got injured. 17 fights, a 92% finish rate for Royval. It's such a close fight. I actually think this probably does go to decision. Both guys are very, very tough here. And I'm gonna take Royval. I kind of switched it up after watching tape. I just don't like how Pantoja does slow down as the fight goes on. And I think Royval, you know, being the bigger fighter, being so unorthodox, being so wild, can make this a very close and competitive fight with those first 2 rounds. And then in that 3rd round, really take over and win that 3rd round. So I'm gonna say it's a close, maybe a split decision win for Brandon Royval. But yeah, I kind of like Royval here. I don't know if I'll pull the trigger on it, but yeah, plus 145. Not terrible. So I'll take Brandon Royval. I'm going to take him to win by decision. I'd be kind of shocked if he finished Pantoja. I mean, like I said, nobody's been able to do it yet. He's as tough as they come, but hey, it could happen. Royval is a very, very dangerous fighter. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this fight. I think it's probably my favorite fight of the night, and a very good chance of it being fight of the night as well. But I'll take Royval to win by decision. Yeah, I like both guys. That kind of sucked. I'm a big Pantoja guy, but I will side with the dog there and Royval. All right, next we have Vince Pichel going against Austin Hubbard. We have Pichel, who is 38 years old, 5'10", with a 72-inch reach, 13-2 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Austin Hubbard, 5'10", 71-inch reach, 13-5 and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds here. And it is a straight pick'em. Austin Hubbard opening up as a plus 140 dog, currently minus 110. Vince Pichel opening up as a minus 160 favorite, currently minus 110. And yeah, it's a very close fight. We'll take a look at some of the stats here for this fight. Vince Pichel does land 3.2 sand finger strikes per minute with a 46% accuracy, absorbing only 2.28, with a positive 0.92 significant strike differential and a 56% striking defense. As far as Austin Hubbard, a little bit more volume, does land 3.66 significant strikes per minute with a 50% accuracy, absorbing 2.61 significant strikes per minute with a positive 1.05 significant strike differential and a 59% striking defense. So here are the grappling stats, and this is where I think the fight is going to primarily play out. We have Vince Pichel that does average a massive 3.83 takedowns per 50 minutes with a very, very impressive 60% accuracy, and he does have a 20% takedown defense, that 20% being because he really doesn't care if he's on his back. He's very confident in his grappling, and rightfully so. Vince Pichel is a very good grappler. As far as Austin Hubbard, he does land 0.81 with a 66% takedown accuracy and only a 58% takedown defense, and I'll kind of talk about why it is sitting at 58% when you take a look at some of the guys that the UFC is matching Austin Hubbard against. Davi Hamosh took him down 3 times. Mark Madsen, who's on the card, an Olympic caliber wrestler, took him down 8 times. No shame in that. Max Roscoff, a very good wrestler, very good grappler, took him down 2 times. Even Dakota Bush took him down once as well. Josie was able to get a standing rear naked choke. And you kind of take a look at who's been fighting it. It's just a bunch of grapplers. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is with the UFC and matching up Austin Hubbard with so many grapplers, but you know, pretty much every single fight in the UFC outside of maybe Kyle Prepelic is a grappler. So again, he's fighting another grappler here in Vince Pichel. One thing I don't like about Vince Pichel in this fight is, yeah, he's 38 years old, but with that said, he's not that active, not much tread on his tires, and he was able to go out and have a really impressive win in his last fight against Jim Miller, and he looked good in that fight. He looked good. He did lose the first round. That was 11 months ago, but he was able to come back and win those next 2 rounds, and he looked decent. Close fight. I don't like the age of Pichel, 38 years old, but I really do like everything else. I think if he does get this to the mat, I do think he does. I think he's going to have success in the grappling. I don't really have to worry about his gas tank. Like, for example, Dakota Bush kind of gassed out against Austin Hubbard. Max Roscoff kind of gassed up, got beat up. gassed out and got beat up in that fight. Mark Madsen gassed out as well. You really don't have to worry about that with Vince Pichel. Close fight. I'm going to take Vince Pichel to win. I think he's going to win the grappling exchanges. It's going to be a very close fight, and it's lined to pick him for a reason. But I will take the older fighter in Vince Pichel. I don't think anybody gets finished here. Both guys not a great finishers. Austin Hubbard only 54% finish rate. Vince Pichel 63% finish rate. But I will take Vince Pichel to get takedowns, get some control time, win the grappling exchanges. But again, it's going to be a very close fight. But I do like Vince Pichel to get the job done by decision. All right, next we have Chase Sherman going against Parker Porter. We have Sherman, who is 31 years old, 6'4", 78-inch reach, 15-7 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Parker Porter, 36 years old, 6 foot, 75-inch reach, 11-6 and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. We will take a look at the odds here. Chase Sherman opening up -155, currently -190. Parker Porter opening up +135 is currently +165. And yeah, I like Chase Sherman here quite a bit. I don't really think Parker Porter is UFC caliber. The dude is very, very hittable, absorbing a 7.36 significant strikes per minute thus far in his 2 UFC fights. Chase Sherman, he's hittable himself with a 52% striking defense, absorbing 5.77. Both guys are very hittable. But one thing I like about Chase Sherman is he has a very good chin. He has a lot of toughness. You take a look at Chase Sherman, and he has fought the much better competition by a mile. And he's decent. He's decent. He throws a ton of volume. He has a ton of power to back it up. A 93% finish rate for Chase Sherman as well. And Parker Porter has been finished in all of his losses. He has never lost by decision, Parker Porter. So I think there's a very good chance that Chase Sherman does get a finish win. But with that said, Sherman has been knocked out before, but he's getting knocked out by guys like Augustus Sakai. He's getting knocked out by guys like Shamil Abdurakhimov. He's getting knocked out by guys like Walt Harris, whereas Parker Porter is getting knocked out by mostly guys that aren't UFC caliber. So I like Sherman here. One thing to mention, in Sherman's last fight against Andrei Arlovsky, which was kind of a close fight where, Arlovsky was clearly the winner, but I was listening to an interview with Sherman and James Lynch, and he said that he he sprained something, or he pulled a muscle, or he broke something. Something happened to him. He had a pretty significant injury, it sounded like, and he said it was 5 minutes before the walkout against Andrei Arlovsky. So he was fighting, very hurt, it just shows you the toughness of Chase Sherman. And, getting out of the tape with Chase Sherman, there aren't a lot of things to like. But one thing that I did like about Chase Sherman is this guy is very tough, and this guy has a ton of heart, and I think he is the more durable fighter in this fight. I think someone goes down. I think that someone is Parker Porter, and I'm going to say Chase Sherman does knock him out in the 2nd round. And yeah, I'm kind of confident. I do like Chase Sherman here quite a bit. Again, 93% finish rate, all by knockout. The guy's a finisher, and Parker Porter has been finished in all of his losses. 3 by knockout, 2 by submission. I think one of them was an injury as well, or a DQ as well. But regardless, Parker Porter's never lost by decision. But yeah, I'm going to take Chase Sherman and knock him out. I'm going to say 1st or 2nd round. All right, coming event time, we have a very interesting one here. We have Mark Madsen going against Clay Guida. Mark Madsen, 36 years old, 5'8", 72-inch reach, 10-0. Obviously 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Clay Guida, 39 years old, 5'7", 70-inch reach, 36-20. And 2-3 in his last 5 fights. Some things to point out. Clay Guida, 39 years old. He's been fighting forever. 56 fights in his career, taking a ton of damage, a lot of tread on the tires. Mark Madsen, not a young guy himself, but only 10 fights. Not much tread on the tires himself. Not much damage taken. We will take a look at the odds here. We have Mark Madsen opening up -250. Currently -173, and we have Clay Guida opening up +210, currently +148, so some money is coming in on Clay Guida, and I can kind of see why. I mean, in this fight, you take a look at it, Mark Madsen, I think he's going to have a ton of success early, and you also take a look at his last fight against Austin Hubbard, where he slowed down tremendously, and it's not only the Austin Hubbard fight. I've seen multiple fights where Mark Madsen does slow down as the fight goes on, and I don't love that against a guy in Clay Guida who doesn't slow down. This guy can go 10 rounds, no problem. So I don't like that, because I kind of think, going into it, if this does hit the 3rd round, I think Clay Guida has a very good chance of winning that 3rd round. So I don't like that. But with that said, I also think there's a very good chance that Mark Madsen either gets a finish early or that he wins those first 2 rounds. Mark Madsen, his wrestling is absolutely legit. and I think there's actually a decent chance that he can find a finish here. Mark Madsen, 66% finish rate, 33% by knockout, 33% by submission. Not the best striker at all, but when he does throw, he throws with some serious power, has some solid ground and pound, has a nice guillotine as well. And, you know, Clay Guida has been submitted so many times. He's been submitted 10 times in his career, and he's been finished 12 times out of his 20 losses. So I actually think there's a solid chance that Mark Madsen can get a finish here, and that's kind of what I'm going to predict. I'm going to say Mark Madsen does get a first-round submission, but if this fight does go late, it's going to get very, very, very sketchy. I don't love the gas tank of Mark Madsen. I don't love how he slows down, and I think Guida is going to obviously be the better striker. Guida is going to be having the better competition level, and the more experience as well. But I'm going to say Mark Madsen does get him out of there in that first round. But if not, I think worst case scenario, Mark Madsen does win those first 2 rounds and kind of cruises in that third. But again, it's going to be a very sweaty third round if it does get there. But I'll take Mark Madsen. I'm actually going to take him to win by first round submission over Clay Guida. And now it is time for the main event. Just want to remind you guys that me and Uncle Weezy did go live, or not live, but we did post a video, main event deep dive, going deep into this fight. We went about 37 minutes, a lot of good information there. I'm going to kind of condense the breakdown here, talk about the most important points, and we shall start with the age of Jared Cannonier, which is 37 years old, 5'11", 77.5-inch reach, 13-5, and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Kelvin Gastelum, 29 years old, 5'9", 71.5-inch reach, 17-7, and 1-4 in his last 5 fights. So, yeah, some things to point out. Jared Cannonier's age, 37 years old. He's going to be 8 years older. Kelvin Gastelum's 29 years old, and I was kind of talking about it on the deep dive with Uncle Weezy, and it seems like it should kind of be flipped the other way around. Like, it seems like Cannonier at 37 years old, this is the best Cannonier we've seen. I mean, he's been looking phenomenal, whereas you have Kelvin Gastelum, and I know it's crazy to say, but he's 29 years old, and it kind of feels like he's on a decline. Now, I know he's fighting some very, very, very good competition, but still, he just has not been looking great since that Israel Adesanya fight. I mean, he gets submitted by Jack Hermanson in the first round, and in 1 minute and 18 seconds, he loses a split decision against Darren Till. He does beat Ian Heinisch, but really, how impressive is that? And then loses to Robert Whittaker. I do want to get into some of the stats, but before we do, we'll talk about the odds here. Cannonier opened up -200, currently -155, and Gastelum opened up +170, currently +135. So getting to the stats here, as I do think they're pretty important here. Cannonier does land 3.7 significant strikes per minute with a 52% accuracy, absorbing only 3.09 with a positive 0.61 significant strike differential and a 64% striking defense. Very solid numbers there compared to Gastelum, who is a little bit lower volume, lands 3.52 significant strikes per minute, a little bit worse, or a lot worse actually, striking accuracy of 42%, absorbing 3.24 significant strikes per minute with a positive 0.28 significant strike differential and a 57% striking defense. So, the numbers do favor Cannonier as far as the grappling stats, which, pre-tape, I thought this would be pretty important, and I thought Gastelum could kind of go in there and potentially get takedowns, and a lot of them. You see the takedown defense of Jared Cannonier sitting at 54%, but you kind of take out the light heavyweight fights, you take out the heavyweight fights, and his takedown defense is sitting at like 78, 79%. So his takedown defense is pretty solid, his get-up game is great. Kelvin Gastelum does average only 1 takedown per 15 minutes, 37% accuracy. So I don't really see Kelvin Gastelum coming out here and wrestling for 5 rounds. I just don't see it happening. Robert Whittaker, I believe he went 0 for 2 on takedowns. Jack Hermanson went, I think, 1 for 6 on takedowns. Jack Hermanson was actually able to take the back of Jared Cannonier, but Cannonier, being so physically strong, was able to get out of it, stand back up, and knock Hermanson out in that second round early. And then David Branch was able to take him down 3 times out of 10 attempts, and Cannonier was able to stand back up pretty easily on all 3 of those, and obviously no takedowns shot by Anderson Silva. So far at middleweight, those have been the guys that have really tried to take him down. I just don't see Gastelum coming in here with a wrestling-heavy game plan for 5 rounds. I just don't see it happening. But, as far as the fight goes, I like Cannonier. I mean, first look, I kind of thought Gastelum could make this very competitive, and maybe it is a competitive fight, but I think the leg kicks of Cannonier are going to be the difference. He kicks very, very hard. I think the 6-inch reach is going to be huge, in a fight that's going to primarily play out on the feet. I don't see Kelvin Gastelum having success with the takedowns, so I think those 6 inches is going to be, key for Cannonier, and also the power. Both guys hit very hard, but you got to give the power advantage to Jared Cannonier, somebody that's fought at heavyweight, somebody that's fought at light heavyweight as well. And I like Cannonier. I think he's going to land the harder shots, the better shots. And I was actually surprised at his numbers. 52% accuracy and a 64% striking defense compared to Gastelum's 42% accuracy and a 57% striking defense as well. So you take a look at Cannonier and who he's lost to. And at middleweight, it's Robert Whittaker, and that's it. Obviously, Kelvin Gastelum lost him as well. But yeah, that fight was... It was where Robert Whittaker was the clear winner, but Cannonier had some success, and I went and watched an interview with Cannonier and James Lynch, and Cannonier said he broke his arm within the first 50 seconds of the fight. Can you imagine that? Like, if that's true, that's insane, because he had a lot of great moments in that fight, and yeah, he said he broke his arm or something in the first 50 seconds of that Robert Whittaker fight. And that just shows you the toughness of Jared Cannonier. He's a very tough guy, as is Gastelum. But man, that's impressive. Was still able to land 53 significant strikes with a broken arm. That's pretty crazy to me. But yeah, he loses to Robert Whittaker. He loses to Dominic Reyes at light heavyweight. Loses to Jan Blachowicz, and loses to Glover Teixeira at light heavyweight, and then loses to Sean Jordan at heavyweight. So light heavyweight, Reyes, Blachowicz, Teixeira. No shame in that whatsoever. Guys that have either gotten the title or fighting for a title, and then Robert Whittaker at middleweight, and then Sean Jordan at heavyweight. So good losses there. But yeah, as far as Kelvin Gastelum, good losses himself. Lost to Robert Whittaker, Jack Manson, Darren Till, Israel Adesanya, Chris Weidman. Yeah, not bad losses himself. This is a very high level fight. I'm going to side with Cannonier. I don't love the age, but again, it kind of feels like he's in his prime at 37. As weird as that sounds, it kind of feels like he's in his prime. This is the best Cannonier we've been seeing at 37 years old, whereas Kelvin Gastelum, as weird as it sounds, he's 29 years old. He's young, but it seems like he's just hasn't been looking all that great in his last few performances. So I'll take Cannonier. I think the 6 inches of reach is going to be huge. He's going to be the much bigger fighter, the guy that's been fighting at heavyweight in his career, light heavyweight in his career, against a small middleweight, and Kelvin Gastelum. I think that's key as well, and I think the power of Cannonier is key as well, and kind of up in the air on the knockout or the decision of Jared Cannonier, because Kelvin Gastelum has a crazy chin. He's only been knocked down by 2 different fighters in the UFC. Israel Adesanya knocked him down 4 times, was still not able to put him out. But if somebody's going to knock him out, it's going to be Jared Cannonier. I'll say he does knock him out. I'm going to say Cannonier does give Kelvin Gastelum his first knockout loss. Like I said, Kelvin Gastelum is tough as they come. But if someone's going to do it, if someone's going to crack that chin and put him out, I do think it's going to be Jared Cannonier. So I'm going to take Jared Cannonier to win. I'm going to say he wins, but I'll say 3rd round knockout. But yeah, should be a great fight. Should be an absolute war. And I'm going to say Cannonier does get it done there. So we did it. That's about it. If you guys can leave a like, if you are still watching, if you're still with me, that'd be much, much appreciated. Also, subscribe if you have not yet. It'd be much, much appreciated as well, so you don't miss out on all my content throughout the week. My DraftKings video will be out soon. My live stream on Friday, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, and my live stream on Saturday, 1 hour prior to when the prelims start. Going to be a kind of a small betting card for me. I do have 2 bets thus far, and I'm looking at maybe 2, maybe 3 more. It's going to be a very small card. Had a very good card a couple weeks ago. I don't want to really give it back. It's a tough card for betting, to be honest, but there are some spots that I do like. So we'll talk about those on Friday, and of course, I'll be posting my bets for free on Saturday on Twitter, DFS_numbers, Instagram, DFS by the numbers. If you do want my bets early, you can sign up on the Patreon and get that and a ton more content. Got the advanced stats courtesy of Uncle Weezy. Also does a really nice matchup template as well, and breakdown videos. My betting article includes a Hail Mary parlay, all that good stuff. You can sign up there as well. So that's about it, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and good luck for UFC Vegas 34. Welcome back. Week off sucked, but we're back at it, and I'm ready for some fights. So that's about it, guys, and good luck. See you soon.